Now for more, we're joined by Stefan Kooths from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. It looks as if we're back on the road to success. Is this sustainable, though?
Yes, we definitely believe that we will have a continuing growth in the rest of this year and also next year. But what we've seen in the first half year, this tremendous growth numbers, was just a catching up process because we have lost a lot of demand last year, and we are now catching up this demand, and therefore we had very high growth, but this will not continue.
And this high growth is mainly being pushed by our fantastic export figures. How do we do it?
Well, we are extremely exposed to the global business cycle because we are not only one of the most open economies of the world, but also one of the major investment good producers. And this is a very cyclical branch. So the reason is we have the right products that are actually in demand today, and they will stay in demand, and this makes us very successful today. And
not everybody likes that we are that successful. Even President Obama now joins the chorus of criticizing Germany for its export figures. Now, the US Federal Reserve has just agreed to pump $600 billion into its ailing economy. It's called quantitative easing, but it will put the greenback under even more pressure, I should think, and also quite possibly will add extra strain on the already existing currency imbalances, as we can see in this graph here, which is, by the way, based on the purchasing index. So the question, of course, is how will this cash injection with more but weaker US dollars affect global markets?
Well, this is a very risky operation that is done by the Federal Reserve in the US. There are probably two major incentives that they may feel. One is to inflate away part of their debt stock, and the other is to bring the dollar under even more pressure to push their export opportunities. But it's not only a question of price competitiveness. You need the industrial structures behind it. You need the right products behind it. So this is nothing that will be successful in the next quarters.
Well, the World Bank's President Robert Zoellick has suggested something how to reform the global currency markets. He says the world's leading economy should at least consider readopting a gold standard. Good idea?
Well, I'm not sure whether you really meant a gold standard. Maybe the idea behind this suggestion was let's try to get rid of a monetary policy that tries to aim at a variety of targets. We are here in Germany are very traditional when it comes to monetary policy. We want the monetary authority to aim at price stability. Whereas in the US, you have different targets to push the business cycle, for example. So if this is a suggestion to streamline monetary policy, then this might be a good idea.
OK. Well, Mr. Kooths, thank you for the moment. We'll be back in a second. Meanwhile, the future of the global currency markets is, of course, also the main topic at the G20 summit in South Korea this week. But whether or not global leaders will be able to reach an agreement on regulations for financial markets is at least doubtful. And the Fed's move to flood the sluggish US economy with $600 billion doesn't exactly help to lift the mood and tackle all those complex global financial issues successfully. Well, if this generation fails to sort things out, maybe the next one will. In Hamburg, we found some young people who have signed up for economics lessons at a local academy to learn what they haven't been taught in school. Let's meet them.
A good, healthy breakfast. That's how Tibor Schöniger likes to start his day. But he never goes without a serving of the latest financial news from around the world as well. He starts his day and ends it right here in front of his computer.
What happens on the financial markets is important for my stocks. They rise and fall with the international markets, so it's good to stay on top of what's going on.
Tibor was given his first shares when he was just 12 years old. Today, he buys his own. But he only invests in assets with real, not speculative value. He's just 16 years old, but keeps track of everything in the financial world, from hedge funds to market regulation and exchange supervision. Tibor says his curriculum at school doesn't include enough on finance, so he's also taking a 2-year course at the Hamburg Chamber of Commerce. The program is called Young Academy. Many of the students in the program want to become investment bankers, even though the profession's reputation has taken a hit in recent years. These students know that bankers were part of the problem in the recent global financial crisis, but they say the industry can regulate itself.
I don't think the financial market overhaul is bad. It definitely works.
After 220 hours of class time, the students end up with a new perspective on the finance industry and perhaps the power to change it.
I really hope we've taught them a lot, so they don't just pursue projects that promise big profits, but also think about the bigger picture.
And that involves issues of international cooperation. One example is this week's G20 summit.
A lot of important people from the business and finance world come together at the G20 summit, and the different countries exchange ideas. I think that's important.
The students receive a practical education too. In spring, their task is to set up an ice cream stand in downtown Hamburg, but just for one day. It's a lesson in how to run a business.
When you start your own company, you have to keep an eye on the financial markets. Like now, you need more of your own capital. You have to think about getting a loan and paying it back and paying the interest. That's important.
Tibor will finish high school in a year and a half, but he's already doing everything he can to break into the financial industry, including internships. At Hamburg Savings Bank, he's getting first-hand experience by sitting in on customer consultations. He says he won't try to sell his own customers risky assets when he starts working.
I can't just make something up when I advise my customers. I have to know and understand the financial products. That's an important basis to work from.
The savings bank is a prospective employer, a plus for Tibor, because he wants to stay right here in Hamburg. He says he's not interested in financial hubs like New York or London, at least not yet.
So a lot of passion there for financial markets and some interesting statements too. Stefan Kooths from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy is here with us, and our protagonist said one thing quite interesting. He says that the financial markets are actually working well. Do you agree?
Well, they are working, and it very much depends on the rules behind these markets, because if there's one thing in economics that is fascinating, then it is to observe how the market outcome depends on the regulation scheme that you put in place.
Okay, but there's a lot. Regulation scheme is exactly the word. We still have to decide on the right one. And the G20 summit, everybody is watching it, seeing if anything happens this time. Do you think this will be the defining moment?
No, I don't think so. There are too many conflicting interests going on there. Maybe G20 is also just too large to come to really substantial decisions. Because what we do not need is a 1,000 pages book of new regulations. We have to agree on some very substantial changes for the regulation schemes worldwide, and then financial markets can play the role that we want them to play.
So if there's no decision at the end of the week, business as usual?
Muddling through as usual as far as economic policy is concerned.
Stefan Kooths, thank you very much for being here with us.